Hello, welcome to the Football 360 show, the fastest hour of football talk on the planet. All kinds of good stuff going on. A little bit of football, news, a little bit of football. Look at that look on your
just
look
a
at that look
little
on your
bit.
face. You're like, just a little bit. You miss us here. We're live on X. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, maybe.
Yeah, we get a little
Do
Facebook.
a little
and,
Facebook action going on.
yeah, so we're
Gonna figure out
Apple.
eventually.
We're on Apple,
Apple
and Spotify.
And Spotify audio only though, right?
Video on Apple, it's only audio, and then
Spotify,
video and
Really?
audio on Spotify.
So us and Joe Rogan.
Yeah, we'll just kind of
Wow, look at that,
Yeah.
man. We're coming for Joe Rogan. And if you miss anything here, you miss it live, you don't catch it on YouTube or X, you can go ahead and check it out, football360show.com. All the previous episodes, right?
Yep, all
Just
the
like
links to the other modes of listening are on there as well.
All kinds of news. I know Matt updates that daily, hourly. There's all kinds of little updates. Man, it's like I'm heading.
I don't have enough things.
I'm heading
to
to Shake Shack. Yeah. just little updates like that.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you know where you're at most of the time.
Well, I'm usually in the Chesterfield Valley
Yeah.
training and working,
Right.
and then
You see, you're training and working and putting out fires,
yeah,
and everybody wants to talk to you
it's
when I'm
yeah.
there.
Oh,
and
it's
you're doing this, and
there's about 8,000 conversations going on at one time.
there really is. So yeah. So that explains a lot. So I feel lucky when, like, we're texting or we're talking, and
Yeah.
you're
We're good.
You're present. You're good, Doug. So do you want to talk Super Bowl at all, or
I think it's exciting. I think it was a interesting game, slow beginning, and obviously
Yeah.
it heated up at the end.
did it?
Yeah,
I mean, it was, I guess, maybe a nail biter for those who weren't following the script,
yeah.
but you could kind of see.
Well, I made a comment watching it at a Super Bowl party, and watch, they're going to miss the extra point.
Yeah.
The extra point, and that was a huge turning point in
Yeah.
the game, because it just goes from a 4-point to a 3-point.
It is
Deficit.
huge, and it's unusual for somebody who just set the Super Bowl record field goal to just come up and miss a
Put it right off his ankle.
Yeah.
I mean that
yeah.
to your point, that's such a rare miss.
Yes.
It makes you wonder.
It does make you wonder, and we're gonna go full conspiracy today. No, we're not. We're not. But it kind of played out how you thought.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, though. The NFL, for the most part, the story was Travis Kelce and some bad pop singer.
Yep. And then the dynasty being built, which
Yeah.
you lose the Patriots, now you gain the Chiefs.
You gotta have something. There was a
Yep.
little bit of a WWE feel to things, going on.
Yeah. I was excited though. Blaine Gabbert got a second ring.
That's what's really cool.
Yeah,
Nick
he gets-
Bolton
yeah,
from
pretty cool.
Mizzou. Yeah, that's the cool part of stuff.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
get to see them experience
The
it,
actual football stuff, right?
talking to their family and friends while they were out there, and then they had a great week and a lot of fun out there, and then get the victory on top of it. And
Right.
I mean, it's a rare deal. There's guys that play their entire career in the NFL that don't even sniff the playoffs, let alone
Really great players, right?
play in a Super Bowl. So
Right.
be on a team in a Super Bowl. One of 53 guys there. So
Yeah. And so it's great. And the football stuff was really cool. It was really good to see. I could care less who's in the stands.
no,
I could care less what's going on the sideline, who's attacking their 65-year-old coach. I don't care about that stuff. You know what I mean?
I mean,
It's,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. The football stuff was, it was interesting and it was cool, and it kind of like scripted out the way you kind of thought it was going to go. And so congratulations to everybody involved.
Yeah, it's good to have a team from Missouri winning. I mean, if
It
you're gonna have somebody win it, at least have the team from Missouri win it. And
That's true.
So I think that's exciting.
That's true.
Now we're entering into no man's land, and there's no football, until the UFL starts up in a few weeks.
The UFL, absolutely. Are you? What's your info on the Battlehawks?
One of our coaches, Kevon Latulis, was his last day with us this past Sunday, and he's going to be going
Really?
to training camp, and they're going. I think they do all their training camp. Daniel Isom was just at the facility when I left. He's getting ready to go down.
Yeah.
So they all will have their training camp in Arlington, Texas. And then I think they start playing games like 2 weeks. I think they report the 23rd.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
a
then-
shame you're losing. Keep on.
Yeah. He's going to go down there and play and live his dream. And
Hey,
I think those guys, have an opportunity to get there and prove themselves and get film, and if nothing else, you're making good money,
Right.
more than you would in any other league,
Yeah.
other than maybe short of the CFL.
And it's no different than guys playing college football. No matter what the level is, if
Mhm.
you're able to play that sport that you love and get your education paid for, and now make a little bit of money doing it, man, you're really lucky. It's rare, and you should really be thankful, no matter what you're playing at. And I know a lot of times guys focus too much on, well, I'm being slept on, or I want to play D1, or I want to play FCS or whatever, D2. See, I mean,
in this scenario, I want to play in the NFL. Well, what's the other options?
Right, exactly.
There are roster limits. The NFL is a business. What are the other? And I feel really bad though for a lot of the guys, because the USFL and XFL combined, and there was a lot of teams and guys that just got left off of those rosters, because if that team dissolved and wasn't part of it, those guys were the ones you would have thought that they would have just kind of blown it up and then reconfigured, but they left a lot of the teams intact.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how that unfolds, but I think there's going to be a lot of fun storylines in the spring.
There should we cover a little Battlehawk stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I think I mean, of all the teams in the UFL or the former XFL, they have the best fan base. They
really do.
It's the most exciting group of people when it comes to a game at that level, and they get a lot of community support. So the only tough thing is they're not technically a part of the community, but 4 weekends out of the year that they're here.
Right.
But it is.
There's people. I had people contacting me, even when things weren't up in the air. They're like, "Hey man, you should do a Battlehawks podcast. You should do a Battlehawks. Nobody's doing a Battlehawks podcast." I'm like, we'll see what happens. So I'm sure we'll probably mention it.
Yeah, why not? Just start talking about, we know some guys on the team, and
right.
I think they are really fun games. I mean, they're rowdy. They're more rowdy than any Rams game I ever went to.
They are. And St. Louis fans, there's a hunger for football of all kinds. Of course, even when the Rams were here, that wasn't the problem.
Absolutely not.
That
was not.
That was at least the problem. But we don't even want to get into that.
No,
I'd rather talk about the Taylor Swift won the Super Bowl conspiracy than bring up the Rams again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that hurts. I mean, we got stung pretty bad by that deal when the Rams left, because we were partners with them on all their youth training and development, high school development, and
right.
It wasn't the decision of the people that we dealt with. It was way above their head, and it was just kind of a unfortunate situation. But you know what? We moved on, and
right,
it is what it is.
Last Super Bowl NFL thing, that stadium, that's a really nice stadium. A lot of money went into that, but I get it. Why?
What a neat place Vegas of all places to throw it, and if think about this, if you're at UNLV, that's the stadium you're playing in.
Yeah. That explains a lot of the recruitment going up.
Yeah.
Barry Odom had a really, really good recruiting class.
Yeah. You're playing in a world-class facility. If they're holding the Super Bowl at that stadium, it's legit.
Right.
It's the best of the best.
If nothing else, you got to put that on your 5 of official visits, right?
Yeah, right. You're going to Vegas to do the visit.
And once you get the guys out there, you never know.
So speaking of Barry Odom, something interesting. I don't know if you saw this. His son Garrett, re-enrolled, moved back to Arkansas. He's at Fayetteville High School, which I've known some guys over the years that coached there, as well as played there. But
Garrett, you came into elite.
Yeah, we trained him numerous times. Yeah, and he's going to go back to Arkansas and play his senior season, which he was playing at a smaller Lutheran school, I believe, out in Vegas. So for whatever reason, they went back, moved the family back for that senior year.
Yeah, they seem to really like it there.
Yeah,
I think they were playing at Shiloh Christian. In Arkansas, and so they really seem to like it there.
And then that, of course, as soon as that happened, that spurs the belief that Barry Odom's going back to Arkansas, in a year or so.
Yeah, you never know. It's really crazy, just college football and a college coaching situation. I'm sure you saw where Chip Kelly is leaving a head coaching position at UCLA to go be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Did that happen yet?
I saw that. I don't know if it happened. Because it must have, because they just named the new head coach at UCLA. So
Okay, who was that?
I forgot. I watched a video on it real quick.
Because we need our crack staff who took the day off.
Yeah,
to feed it to me.
One of those things like Chip Kelly, like, you know, he probably is getting to that point in age and time when he decides, like, hey, I'm ready. I'm done with all the head coaching stuff. I just want to go back and be a coordinator, because that's what he truly is a coordinator.
Right.
So I think it was a former player that they
Deshaun Foster. Yeah.
Foster, yeah.
Former running back, right?
Yep. Deshaun Foster. Yeah, he was a heck of a running back.
Yeah, he was. So that's interesting. Well, what's interesting with the Chip Kelly, and one of the reasons I bring it up, is one of the reasons he also mentioned, or was mentioned, that he went to Ohio State as the offensive coordinator, was that there was not the NLI money for players at UCLA, which is kind of amazing. You know, growing up, UCLA was always thought of as, you know, a national program, you know, storied program. And for him to say that, it really kind of gives you an idea of the direction college football is heading. You know, you hear various coaches, you know, complaining, hey, we need more money. Some SEC schools, hey, we need more money. You know, we got to compete. So, I mean, that's the name of the game. We've talked before, and some people have gotten upset that we say, hey, it's professional football now.
It is.
That's a perfect sign. It's professional football. Your head coach is going down to be, I mean, it's not going to, probably not much of a money drop off, because Ohio State's got a lot of cash, but still.
It'll be interesting to see his offense too in the Big Ten, because you know, Blaine Gabbert played for him with the 49ers. And one thing was really interesting watching his stuff in the NFL, his system in the NFL. Their first drive was always awesome, well scripted.
Yep.
They had the whole week to work it out, and then they would always go down and score. I'd love, like, really efficient first drive. After that, it was really inefficient. And I remember talking to Blaine about it and asking him, and he alluded to the fact that it was a very high school-esque offense.
Yes.
And that's why the defense would catch on. And once they caught on after that first drive, you know, they would scheme them that first drive, and they would have success. Then after that, there was the ability to do it real fast was not congruent with what goes on at the NFL level with those defenses. So he said it was really a tricky offense to run.
Oh, yeah. And the ability to make adjustments on your defensive coordinator, your defensive ability. I mean, that's everything.
Yeah.
You know, and on the NFL, you're going to have guys who are like, yeah, we see that. Boom. We're going to make the adjustments. And you saw it in the Super Bowl.
So we were kind of talking about it too before the show. So Tom Brady came out this week. He was talking about, and I thought it was really interesting. He was talking about quarterback play in the NFL today, current quarterback play.
Yeah.
And he said he said a lot of times it's the offensive coordinators, right? The way they're setting it up, they're calling plays. And this really kind of shocked me, but it doesn't shock me, because he alluded to the fact that a lot of times the quarterbacks are just going to go ahead and run the play. So say they get into a situation where they, you know, statistically believe on third down they're going to be in some sort of man, right? So they run some sort of man beater play. Well, they end up getting in cover two, and they're in cover two, and now the play that they have set is not a good play to run against cover two, and you really don't have many options. And he said a lot of the modern quarterbacks will not check out of it, or they're not allowed to check out of it. And so now you're getting yourself in a really bad situation where, you know, you see in the college game a lot, you see a lot of the freeze plays, or like a lot of the plays where they just look to the sideline and they're looking, then they signal the play in. You know, that scenario is really kind of dumbing down the quarterbacks though, right? I mean, so as you hear a guy like him talking about it, he would just check out of it, go to something else, and be on with it. Right. But his assertion is that is not happening at all.
Well, and we were talking about it before the show that, you know, with the NFL especially, it's really becoming specialized football.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not the way things used to be.
Yeah.
And so it is special. So that really, you're right. That doesn't surprise me. It's surprising, but it doesn't surprise me.
Right.
You know, they're taking that power away. You're going to do this and this, and this man's going to do this, and we're going to bring him in for, it's really specialized as opposed to just, you know, the 11 on 11 guys back in the day lining up, and, you know, it was a battle.
I think even at the younger ages, you can do yourself and your players a lot of good by allowing them to not necessarily fully call the offense, but put them in scenarios where they can check in and out of things based on what
Helps
they
them learn.
see.
Yeah.
And so the brain just picks up patterns. That's all really football is predictive patterns, right?
Mhm.
So they have two high, you know what you're looking at defensively. If they have one high, you know what you're looking, middle of the field's closed, you know what you're looking at. You know, the basics of teaching kids how to read defenses is, I do a lot of that with kids, and it's shocking to me. We'll get high school kids that are very unaware of what basic coverages are, right? And their knowledge of the game really comes from Madden. It's not coming from learning it out of a playbook.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids do not have playbooks anymore. It's all memorized. So, I think getting back to some of the older tried and true techniques of teaching guys what the playbook is, teaching them, like play calls, like everybody gets on the NFL for their play calls. They're so long, but they're very descriptive. And what that allows you to do as a play caller is to adjust,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas you get a lot of things where mirrored routes, right side, left side, that, depending on what coverage they're in, you can be in a real, hurting position real quickly, because if that doesn't match what they're going against, like, if you have mismatch mirrored systems where you have, or mismatch systems where left side, right side are running different concepts, then your odds go up greatly. But your quarterback has to be able to recognize that. And I can tell you, starting back when I started coaching little guys in fifth grade up, that's a primary objective of teaching those guys how to count the box, look in coverage, and if we get into a bad call, get us out of it.
Right.
Because they're going to be the first one to see it.
Right.
I'm not going to see it, right? I'm not going to yell out there to them. Like, we don't have enough time to communicate to all the little guys on the field.
Yeah. That going through your progressions, you know what I mean? I mean, that's huge. And a guy who does that really well is Carson Boyd, who we talked about last week.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's really good. He can read a defense. He knows what's up. Otherwise, you see guys who are out there and you can't always tell who knows what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Because pull the ball down and take off.
Yep. And just go, and the fight or flight mentality.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. It closes down on them. They're gone. And, the best in the business. I mean, just watch even Brock Purdy, he's not an accident that he made it to the Super Bowl. There were so many times he was getting folded as he was throwing.
Yeah.
A couple balls got batted, which it is what it is, but he was getting folded as he threw. But that means he was holding on and reading until the very last second and releasing the ball.
Yeah.
And so, those are things that young quarterbacks have to learn. And then also they need to learn how to move in the pocket and work with their offensive line.
There are a lot of guys who've made it into the NFL and made some nice coin doing it that don't know how to do that or didn't know how to do that in college.
Oh yeah.
And they're still able to do it.
Well, you get enamored watching guys throw balls, and believe me, it's fun watching guys absolutely rip the football, right? So I go back to years ago, Todd Monken, who's the coordinator now for the Ravens. The last 2 years, he was the coordinator for the national championship Georgia Bulldogs. Yeah. So we were talking about an individual. I'll say his name, Garrett Gilbert. Okay, so Garrett Gilbert's the quarterback at Texas, and he was transferred to SMU, and one of my quarterbacks was at SMU at the time, Stephen Kaiser from DeSmet. And so I asked him, I said, hey, what do you know about this kid? Because he was coaching at Oklahoma State at the time. He said, Matt, he is the single greatest warm-up quarterback you will ever see. He's like unbelievable. Yep. He's like, well, you're standing there watching before the game thinking that he's about to put 70 up on us. He said, I've never seen anything. It just comes off his hands so clean. Yeah. Perfect. Great. He goes, single worst game player I've ever seen. Okay. So he's like, so tell your guy, stick it out, because he's going to basically crap the bed and be done. Right.
Right.
So anyway, long story short, Steven works his way to be the guy. Garrett comes in somehow magically. This is like way pre transfer portal.
Oh yeah.
He transferred played in the national title game, or it was the backup, comes to SMU and is able to start. His dad's a coach down in Texas. It was a huge deal for SMU to get a Texas transfer. And that June Jones told Steven, like, hey, you're gonna be number two. He's got a couple years, and then you'll be the guy. And but if you want to leave, I'm not going to stop you. Right. So he decided to leave, which, looking back, he probably should have stayed. So fast forward many years later, the St. Louis Rams pick up Garrett Gilbert in like the 5th or 6th round.
Yeah.
So prior to that, I was talking to one of their personnel guys, and he was like, yeah, what do you think about him? He's like, well, we flew down and seen him. He's like, he had the most unbelievable workout. I said, well, let me tell you a story. So I told him what Todd Monken had said.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but I've never seen anybody. I said, let me repeat what he said. The single best warm-up quarterback you will ever see. None better.
Yeah.
And then he gets in, and this is not a slight on him, but he got in with the Rams, and it was a very quick exit.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Very quick exit and then I remember talking to the personnel guy, and he goes, yeah, he didn't execute the way we thought he would, but he fell in love with the mechanics and the throwing side of things versus the execution side of things.
That was the MO on Garrett. Everybody did in high school. Everybody loved him. But again, I think he played for his dad, played in one of those high profile, high scoring Texas offenses where there's like no defense. Everybody's,
everybody's scoring,
putting up big numbers. But you're absolutely right. Everybody fell in love with him, but I never understood why everybody was so enamored with him outside of, he looked the part.
Yep.
He looked
100%.
the part in every way, like you said, except when he got against actual defenses and had to, actually had to be a quarterback on a high level. And so that was different with him. So yeah, it's really interesting. Back to the whole NIL thing. The game is going to change. You're going to see people who programs, I guess I should say, programs who kind of fall off, right? I think you're not going to see realignment or different things or conferences. Some teams may just fall by the wayside. Maybe they drop down.
Yep.
I mean, that was a real eye opener to me to see UCLA like that. But there are other.
You would think they would have the strong base of people and alumni to give the money, but it's an expensive school, right? It's a very expensive school to go to, just like USC.
And USC apparently rules the roost out there. You know what I mean? And that's where it all goes.
It's where all the money is given. Yeah. So, yeah, I think a lot of the traditional powerhouses, we're going to see who can keep up, because there's this, like, you look at a school like Mizzou. The future may bode well for them only on the simple fact of they got a lot of money, right? Like
got a lot more recently,
right? They got more, but they have they have momentum, right? So some of these schools where they've been getting money and they have gained in momentum, that money can dry up,
right?
If you're seeing results, more money is going to come, and then as you're going against people who are dropping off, your pathway actually becomes easier, right? Not harder. So I think there's going to be a lot of, realignment, so to speak, financial realignment over the next 3 to 5 years. And it's going to become very, very obvious who's got a well-oiled machine and who doesn't.
And hence the professional football aspect of it. It's going to be, because, I mean, you have UCLA. You hear stuff. Cal's going to have a hard time competing. Stanford's going to have a hard time competing.
Yep.
Schools, some SEC schools. Although I got to say, best move ever made by Mizzou is joining the SEC.
Unbelievable timing. Back when, who was the AD? I mean, the visionary component of that was outstanding, because it protected them.
Right. And Pinkel really wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
And now there was the Mizzou needs to join the Big Ten camp. I don't think that they would. I think they would be struggling.
Yeah,
from the financial aspect if they weren't in the SEC.
Correct.
And the interest level and just the whole 9 yards. It would be a totally different ball game.
And I just think they fit play style, all of that. Like Mizzou is more of an SEC school than they are a Big Ten school.
Oh, 100%. And geographically as well.
Well, now the Big Ten spans coast to coast.
Isn't that crazy? And so that's what I'm saying. It's gonna get smaller.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know if people thought about this, but the transfer portal and the NLI stuff is shrinking college football. instead of expanding it. And I don't know if that was the purpose, but that's what's going to wind up happening.
Well, the rich are going to get richer. So, but yeah, I think as you look at how people treat recruiting, and I think you even see it in the summertime when we're at the the Lindenwood camp and the other camps, like you see how the kids are behaving towards certain schools because they kind of hear and they they gravitate towards certain programs, right? Like, hey, USC's here, right? Like, USC is recruiting in St. Louis, recruiting kids in St. Louis, right? Josh Henson's out there. Josh Henson's recruited kids when he was at Missouri and Oklahoma State, right? He was recruiting in Texas A&M. He was recruiting guys. Like he talks to Jamie Pond quite a bit about the different offensive linemen. I mean, he comes in comfortably into St. Louis, right? And if they have the money to back it up, they'll pull who they want to pull out, right? And then, especially if a kid wants to get further away from home. But again, I caution kids about getting too far away from home. I have, I would love for someone to write in and give us their top 10 of people that made it 4 states away from here that are highly successful in any direction.
Yeah.
Few and far between.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
you got Ezekiel Elliott.
You got Ezekiel Elliott.
He's probably 4 states, right in that range. Yeah. I mean, you start going, your geographical, boundary being up to Minnesota down to Mississippi.
Yeah, there's limits.
Yeah.
Guys, I would say down to Alabama.
Yeah.
There's guys down in Alabama that from St. Louis who've gone to Alabama, have done well. You get a little further on the East Coast, the Floridas. Florida State, not as much. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anybody really, who's gone down there and really done a lot.
Yeah.
Same, like you said, same thing. West Coast. We
haven't had a lot of the kids go to Texas. Doesn't work out extremely well.
Yeah, I mean
that state of Texas, not Texas, University of Texas in particular, but
right.
Yeah,
you're always going to have those kids get. This is the problem with if you're a local kid and you go too far away, right? It's easier for you to fall through the cracks, right? Because Texas, they select who they want. And so they're always going to have that guy or those guys. And they've got to showcase those guys because they're the hometown heroes. That's one of the reasons why it's good when these guys don't go too far away because, they want to the schools want to come back and recruit these areas.
Right.
Right. So you have your Iowa State, your Kansas States. They're going to give these guys all the opportunity in the world. Of course, Mizzou, Illinois, because this is where they recruit.
Right.
So they want those guys to do well, so they can come back and say, hey, look at this guy. Look at Dominic Orange up at Iowa State, from Kansas City, North Kansas City. He's doing well,
Yeah.
You could be him.
And that's, and the quarterbacks are the one position where you do see success if they go further away, only because like Brock Purdy is a great example. He was from Arizona going all the way up to Iowa State.
Yeah.
Well, there's not a ton of quarterbacks being produced out of the state of Iowa, right? Their big superstar last year from Iowa State that lived from Iowa. What was his dad? Jamie Cole's son, Jackson Cole, or whatever. Cole, I forgot his name, but he was the number 1 one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country. JJ Cole. And then Anthony Beck, whose he's the head coach for the Battlehawks. His son's the starter. Right. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Right. But, I think looking at the overall landscape, staying regionally, within, it does help that the Big Ten has expanded because they are going to recruit more kids out of this geography because it's the old Mizzou effect. When Mizzou was in the Big 12, they recruited Texas a ton because they wanted to have those kids that wanted to play against those other schools, right? That overlooked them.
Right.
Now, with all these conferences expanding geographically, just getting larger, it'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds because it definitely is a new dynamic that was, 5 years ago was not really even there.
Right. And I got to tell you what, the reason that you have so many schools, you have coast to coast USC, Alabama, Florida, Auburn, Michigan, from all over the place coming into Missouri and St. Louis in the region is because the talent is here. And it's not a surprise. It's not a fluke. Been doing this for a while now. In fact, I went back and looked and just saying, hey, this class, I'm looking at the 2029s, 2030s. there's some guys
Oh.
already that you can identify.
Yep.
We're going to be guys. 2027 class, very talented. 2028 class, unbelievable talent that's in that. That's just going to be going into high school.
Mhm.
And so that's because the talent is here and it's been developed.
Yep.
And because you have people from people finally started. And when you got in, how long? 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So before that, there was nothing.
Nothing.
There was nothing. You showed up in the summertime, you did your little summer camp, and then you went in preseason camp, and that's where you learned your football. That's where you played your football.
Yeah.
Now with training, with 7-on-7, guys actually taking an interest and realizing they need to do the off-season work,
which I think
why we're at.
Where in the past, a lot, and I think this still stands true. In the past, our kids, athletically, we have a very good, diverse gene pool of athletes. So really good, super uber athletic to big guys. I mean, we got a really good for our population. I mean, we have a large number of kids playing in the NFL. I like to think we played a part in that because we've trained the vast majority of those. Not every one of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
But looking at like how diverse we have of a population of football players and athletes in general, because you could look at basketball, I think is pretty well represented as well. But the athletes we have, I don't think are overdeveloped as like the kids from Texas, because it's such a year-round regimented deal with the schools that, you find, even when I was playing, you'd find these guys from Texas who were really hyped. They'd get there, they'd already kind of met their ceiling. Whereas I think a lot of our kids still develop. I would say we probably are a little behind in the football side of it, like not necessarily the athletic side.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a true spring ball.
Right.
We don't have, I would not say from a strength and conditioning, our programs are not at the same level as a lot of the schools across the country, just from talking to peers and understanding what people are doing in their weight rooms. Like there's been improvements because there's classes now kids can take at school.
All right.
There's a resurgence in some of the summertime lifting and things like that.
There's still some schools out there that have the old dungeony, weight room.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's dark and it's dank, and they got some free weights.
But athletically, we have a lot of really good kids that come out of our region, and I think schools know that, colleges understand that, and they can come in and pick guys off pretty easily.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without question. And I mean, just football and the dedication to football across the board. You're seeing schools that kind of shock me, building high schools in Missouri, building indoor facilities.
Yeah.
That they're training in. And it's like,
Eldon, Missouri, right?
That was Eldon, Smithville, right? Who their head coach is the new head coach at William Jewell.
Mm-hmm.
Nice indoor facility. So that's the future. That's what you're gonna see.
Which is interesting because I think you'll see more of the small town. I don't think you'll see our bigger public schools here in St. Louis fight that political battle and win. I think when you get in the outskirts, you're a little bit further away from the city, you're going to probably see a lot more of that.
Yeah, the unity behind it, and
being proud of their community, and but I think. Athletically, we don't take a back seat. I think we probably top 15%. I think, from a level of play at the team organization level, we're probably further down I don't think we run in that same group.
Right.
I think we're just a little bit further down the line. But I think that, that's something that, a lot of that also comes with, what do they pay coaches? What do they pay teachers? How do they view the coaches? How do they, it's definitely a different scenario here than it is in other states.
Yeah, that can be a real struggle.
And I think that's, but that's well outside the control of anybody coaching football, right? That's not they're not in, if they had their druthers and their wishes, it would be probably similar to what goes on in Texas.
Right. Well, athletically and football talent wise, you're right. We're there with Texas, the best in Texas. We're there with the best in Alabama. We're there with the best in Georgia. Mm-hmm. You have those guys. And for a long time, you saw various head coaches think that they had to go to Texas, had to go to Alabama, and get a third or fourth tier guy out of Alabama to come up here and play, and didn't pan out when there were perfectly good guys
right in
here,
their backyard.
right in their backyard. A lot of guys, we could do a whole show
Yeah.
on overlooked guys. So it's
Well-
nice to see that. Nice to see that recognized. It's still not quite there yet because college coaches, quite frankly, don't trust themselves or their own evaluation system a large majority of the time. And so, but it's getting there.
Well, so JP was
coming
at the
along.
facility this weekend, and we had some kids jump,
I like to just hang.
and we had some kids jump on the
Yeah.
force plates. And as we've talked about in past episodes, we have the ability to, we have a system that when they jump on the force plates, it gives you extrapolates data on each of those jumps and it averages them out.
Yep.
And then it is able to give you precise data off the 100+ points of measurement that those plates take on the jumps. And which reason we do a jump is because it's full body. It's a full body movement.
Yep.
It's explosive. It's ballistic, and you can't cheat it.
Right.
So, but our athletes jump on it, and then it takes it, and then there's an algorithm that then assesses what those results are, and then bases it and shows them where they are on a score of 1 to 100, 100 being the top, and then it shows you where your strength is, where your power is, your momentum, and your fluidity, and then it gives you a score based off of your height, weight, and age, right? Essentially, of where you are with your athletic ability. And so I think
It's impressive technology.
it is
Made me a believer. Yeah.
it's wicked because it will show you what you can see, but it actually puts it into numbers, and it shows the athlete like, hey, here's your areas you need to improve it.
And that's exactly what I said to you. I said what I loved about it, the force plates, was it took what I saw, right? Because it nailed it.
Nailed it.
It
That's
nailed it.
wicked. Yeah,
We were talking about
crazy.
quarterbacks last week, and it 100% nailed it when we were talking about. I guess can we mention the name?
Sure.
Preston Brown. Mention it about Preston Brown. Just off the charts.
Off the
with his athleticism, and he's right there and ahead of some guys who have multiple D1 offers,
Mhm.
right? So he's right there with them, and he produces on the field besides the athleticism that he has. Yet he's not getting attention from schools. Doesn't have any offers. Schools. I know there's some schools out there
sniffing around.
probably the one that his brother's playing at are like, we're going to just hide this guy.
Yeah.
There's some guys out there probably hiding him, right? We're going to pull the trigger on an offer, but we don't want to alert everybody else that he's out there. But it took what I saw and put it down on paper in a report and nailed it. Just nailed
We
it.
could run the report within 5 minutes of the kid jumping.
Yeah.
Really, within 2 minutes, it just takes a second to get it all uploaded and let the algorithm do what it does, pull the data, assess it, and then give you the results. And, speaking of Preston, to give you an idea, his power output is that of an NFL player.
Yes.
Right. And how do we know that? Well, we've tested all of our NFL players, and we know we've tested thousands of high school athletes over the years. And we know what those parameters look like, right? And the system also knows what those parameters look like off of all the professional athletes it tests as well. So you're able to real quickly ascertain what that athlete's, where they're at, and then what their capabilities are and where they need to work. Because typically, if you have a super powerful athlete that's not as strong, you clearly want to address those strength concerns because you don't want that power and strength to get too far out or not be fluid, so that you can get potentially have injuries because you're so powerful, right? And so, but most humans don't fall into that overpower category. Most people are more in that 50 to 55 range. Would be their power rating. He's at 76, I believe.
It was
super
79. Something.
Yeah, off the charts.
Yeah.
So yeah, his me rating would indicate that he is a guy that from a professional level, like he's trending towards someone that would have that set of athletic parameters. Again, a lot of other things have to go into that.
Right.
But as you start to look at people that are outliers, his teammate, Chase Sikorsky, is another guy that jumped off the charts, absolutely off the charts. And I will tell you, we have kids jump all the time, and there's plenty of kids that are not off the charts. So
Right.
that have a lot of work to be done. But I would think, he's a guy that will someday someone's going to go, why is he a Benedictine? Why was he there? And you
Right.
say, well, someone overlooked him in recruiting, or that he didn't fit what they were looking for. But I think a test like this will start to really even the playing field and show you who you're recruiting. Because I will tell you, there's guys that walk in the door that are supposed to be the end all be all. You put them in that scenario and they do not test like they're that guy.
Right.
And you say, well, wait, well, why is he? But he's also the guy that doesn't run the 40 at the combine.
Right.
And that's the guy that slides through. And then someone's like, well, why did he never work out?
Yeah. And you're right. Or he's the guy who didn't take the time to learn how to run the 40 properly or do any of the testing. But
speaking of, we actually have a combine course that starts tonight.
nice.
It's Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Highly recommend that. Highly recommend.
You need to learn how to
come into the combine, or are you even for Lindenwood, any other combines camps coming up? Man, take advantage of this, because at the combine, number one thing I see are guys will get ready to do their 40, and so much time is wasted trying to. This is how you place your hand. This is what you. They come in not knowing how to do that. So do yourself a favor and go to this course, or at least online something.
Yeah.
Learn how to test.
Yeah.
But these force plates, like we're talking about, it identifies the true talent, besides just you eyeballing it and writing what you see and what you know, which is, it was cool to have it verified for me with this backing it up. But it also lets guys know what they need to work on, and there were three. Well, there were the guys who were testing. There were multiple guys with D1 offers who were quarterbacks. Preston doesn't have his, and Preston out-tested.
It shows that he's in that. He needs to be in that conversation.
Exactly, and that's what we were talking about.
And he has the stats that puts him in that club.
Puts it on the field, right?
It'd be one thing if he tested like that and threw subpar. He doesn't throw subpar. He throws sub. He's up there.
He's right there. And the way that I always phrase it is, there's not a lot of daylight, right? There's not a lot of daylight between him and all these other guys. The five guys who do have D1 offers. So that's pretty interesting. And with regarding Chase, it confirms also. I always referred to Chase all last year as a big time prospect, right? Which means he has D1 potential.
Mm-hmm.
What's cool about this is that shows that.
Yes,
because he, again, another guy who not only just tested off the charts like that, but on the field.
Right. And I think as we get deeper into this, and we both know there are so many. And what's so weird about the recruiting world is once someone anoints somebody with an offer, and then the recruiting services get on that person and start reporting like, hey, this guy's got an offer.
Because that's what they are. The reporting.
They're reporting the facts that someone got offered.
Yep.
And so the problem is when you start reporting that stuff, then other people are like, oh, I need to offer him. So you'll see this feeding frenzy on the same 20 plus kids in a position group, right?
Yeah. And they might not even be committable offers, but they want to throw their hat in there. So, hey, look at me, notice me, just in case.
Yeah. And then you wonder, like, well, wait a second. Why'd that guy, that guy might be given more opportunities in college because he was a high level recruit. And a lot of times people don't want to be wrong, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to be wrong on guys they recruited. So they give them every opportunity to excel and succeed. Cody Schrader is a guy that walked in against guys that were national level recruits, and they sat on the bench and he got all the carries, because eventually the cream does rise if you're in a situation where your coach has to check their ego and just put the best man on the field. But that doesn't always happen.
No, not at all. Which is why Cody had to take the route he did, because, like you said, they don't want to be wrong.
Right.
They don't want to be wrong, even though it was right there. And what's interesting about you bring up Cody, I saw a lot of similarities, and maybe you did too. I saw some similarities between him and Christian McCaffrey.
Oh yeah,
running the ball, their style, and I'm like,
I think people are still doubting him as an NFL player.
Yeah,
I think he gets in, he gets a shot. He will be real similar to the story at Mizzou.
Yeah,
he won't let go. Yeah. Kind of like a Kyron Williams. Once Kyron got through his 6th round pick, kind of an afterthought. But I can tell you the Rams, the guys I talked to at the Rams, were super excited about him, because they, in their analysis of him, they realized, like, hey, we got this guy's a dude, right? He missed 4 or 5 games this year and had second, leading rusher in the NFL.
Right.
But there's guys like that are out there, and the line is very thin between who gets selected and who doesn't, right? And
Yeah.
it's just the way it works. So, advice to kids out there, like, you have to work, but you have to work smartly about what your goals are to try and reach those goals. And you need to be doing things, not just doing mindless cone drills or running through ladders. Like, that's busy work. What are you going to do that's going to separate you from the competition? What are you going to do that's going to actually translate on the field? Okay. Memorizing patterns of your footwork is not going to translate on the field. Reacting to stimulus is going to translate on the field, right? With our quarterbacks, we don't ever do any really crazy foot drills. Everything has got some sort of reaction built into it, because at some point they're reacting to the defense in front of them on the pass rush.
Right.
And they're also reacting to the next layer or two of defense of where the ball is going to go. So everything has to have some sort of reactivity to it. At the end of the day, if you don't understand that concept and you think it's about everything unrelated to that and all the wacky throws that you think he might have to make,
Yeah.
I'm from the camp of, let's teach him how to move in the pocket so he doesn't have to make all those things.
Yeah.
Some of the guys you see in the NFL, they're unbelievable throwers because they move and they create scenarios that are really difficult for the defense, but that's not ideal. Like, they're moving and chucking the ball to guys in choice routes and a lot of broken plays and scramble rules and scramble drills that quite honestly are, really hard to defend, but eventually, like, the luster wears off of that as that quarterback does not run as well.
And if you want to train yourself to be that guy, train yourself to be that guy, you're going to get overlooked.
Yeah.
You're going to be one of those guys be like, I'm slept on, because they're not looking for that, right?
You got to be able to run their system.
There are guys, and I'm sure everybody sees them, they're in high school and they're phenomenal. And you want to know what? All it takes is just a little bit of their technique. College coaches don't like, they'll pass on you.
Mm-hmm.
They won't even mess with it, because they're not going to mess with it. They don't have the
They
time.
don't have the time, the expertise,
or the inclination, right? To work with this guy who's maybe 6'5", 6'6", and has an absolute just cannon, can throw the ball 70 to 90 yards.
Yeah.
But you know what? He likes to be that guy. He wants to run around. He wants to slide arm it like he's Uncle Rico. And
there's a lot of Uncle Ricos on the internet.
There's a lot of those out there. Yeah.
But the same could be said for a guy that's 6'6", 290 pounds, who is a mauler, but does not have any pass technique, because we don't run, my team's a run team. Yeah. But the college game, they pass so much. If you're not learning and spending time on pass sets in high school, I know maybe your team doesn't run that, but the team you're going to hope to go to does. So at some point you need to work on that, right? And if you need to realize where your weaknesses are as an athlete and start to train towards that, right? That's why being around people that have done it before really, really, really counts. And it's worth its weight in gold, because you could come into my office, sit down and talk to me. That I will tell you, there's not a scenario that you're going to bring up to us that we have not encountered already in the recruiting process or the development process of an athlete. Doesn't mean what we tell you you're going to follow and it's going to work 100%, but I can tell you we're going to give you a pretty good idea of how it's going to work out, because we've seen it time and time again. And, choose what you want as far as like the resources you have. First and foremost, you have to do every single thing your team asks of you. That's non-negotiable, right? We have far too many kids that I hear say, oh, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that in lieu of doing something with their team.
I see it happening. Yeah. I see it happen in games. Guys want to do what they want to do.
Oh, yeah. Right. And so, the last thing we don't want guys ever using training with us or, training in general as an excuse not to do something that's required of the team. That's a team requirement, right? So, and having honest conversation with your coach about what else you're doing to try and get better, right?
Your coach should want that.
Yeah. How about you have a conversation with your coach and say, hey, what do you need me to improve this off season? So when I come back to you, I have it and we're ready to move on.
Yeah.
Right. And I can go better. So that guy doesn't have to spend time on it. Far too often, like skill development and training and development side of things is viewed as like, oh, that's a negative, right? Well, what can you do to turn it into a positive, right? Those kids are done in 4 years. You're done in high school. It's over before you know it. What are you going to work on this off season to help next season, right? You only have 4 seasons to get it done. And the high school coaches, God love them, they have other responsibilities than just taking care of you. I mean, they have 100 guys in their program, and they have a lot of other responsibilities not other than coaching football. So I think, a team effort and spending time with reputable people in the off season can really pay dividends when it's all said and done.
Absolutely. And, back to Kyron and Cody, something that they have in common is their mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to like look at them, look at what they do. It'd be great to have maybe both of them in at the same time and just kind of talk about it, because they have similar mindsets. They're not similar type players. They might not test the same, whatever, but their mindset and what has gotten them to where they are, very similar.
Yeah, relentless competitors, both of them.
Absolutely, and mindset is it. You can think you want it, but those guys, they wanted it and they got it.
They actually took the steps to take it,
and that's everything. That's the proper mindset.
Yeah, I walked out today. Tony Adams, who's in there training today, he's with the Jets. Each week he's, hey, when am I going to come on the show? So we'll have him come in. But he's another guy, again.
Same mindset.
Like, you have to understand the guys that get to where they get. And that's why you hear a Tom Brady, he sounds very cynical, right? You're like, oh, he left the game and he's complaining. And, it's back in my day, they did it this way. But that is a competitor's mindset who is recognizing patterns of not necessarily doing it the right way or to the fullest, and it's driving him crazy.
Absolutely.
So when he's on the TV next year, it's going to be really interesting, because I don't think he's going to hold back. I don't think he cares.
Right.
He's earned the right to say what he needs to say.
And that's the whole thing. It's not being negative for negativity's sake. Even like when we do it, we see what we want to help.
Right. This is coming from our motive is to help.
We want to help.
Yes.
And even just like being there in the facility and talking with guys, it's like, you can see who wants that help. There was a 8th grader at Elite on Sunday, 6'8", 330. And he was getting trained and coached, and Jamie Pons paying him attention. And so, I went up to him afterwards and I said, hey, you listen to everything he says and tells you. I go, that's value.
Yeah.
I go, that is value. I go, you do listen and do everything he tells you in this. I go, you're going to be successful.
And to your point, when you're around the right people whose motives are to see you be successful, and they provide excellence in what they're doing, there's no guarantee that you're going to be an NFL lineman.
Right.
But there is a guarantee that if you listen to that experience and know-how, and you get around people like that, I see all these young coaches, and it just drives me crazy. Like, it's all about them. And it's about their technique and what they train and that, all these things. If you boil it down, it's a really selfish attitude. To be a great coach, it's got to be a selfless attitude.
Right.
I still train little bitty guys up through college and pro guys. And I get just as much joy from training those guys, because it doesn't change. Teaching someone to be more efficient in their mechanics and how to play the position is what I love doing. Right before I got on the air here, Brady Cook sent me a message. Videos of him throwing. He said, I'm just feeling good. Just kind of a check-in, and also I'm going to look at the video and kind of break it down, see how he's looking. You would love it. You know who the center was snapping to him?
Who's that?
Talon Chandler.
Of course.
Again, these are off days. There's no one else in there but a receiver, Brady Cook, and then Talon Chandler. A couple, Brady's girlfriend was snapping to him on another day. So it looks like 2 different days of training. But Talon's in there. How do you that's a mindset. Sign. That is a mindset. That is like hey, I'm not going to go sit on the couch and eat pizza because we already worked out 2 hours today. I'm going to go in there and get more reps, and I'm going to build rapport with the man, with the guy who's the starter, who's the face of the program. That is how you do it.
That's how you get success. And all those guys we're talking about with the same mindset, that's the blueprint. You want to pay attention to that. Follow the blueprint is there.
It's there.
I always say that with everything, whether it's athletes, whether it's movies, whether it's music. You have the blueprint of how to be successful. And so many people want to reinvent the wheel. They want to reinvent how you're going to play football. They want to reinvent how you're going to train. It's because it's me. Hey, look at me. I've got this system or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys right there, and it's absolutely true about Jamie and this young lemon. You're 6'8", 330 pounds. You have a guy who has the knowledge he's going to impart on you to have the most success you can.
Take it and run.
Take it and run.
Like my dad used to always say, all winners must be present.
Right.
If you don't show up in your talent channel and you miss that opportunity, shame on you.
Talon wants to play.
Right? He wants to get on the field.
Yep.
Brady Cook's going to go work regardless. He's always present. That's why he won the job. That's why he is who he is. People don't see, they see the end result. They don't know the relentlessness of that behavior.
Yeah.
It is an obsession. But that's, to your point, music, business owners, physicians, the best ones in the world, they never stop thinking about it. They never stop building on it and working and working and working. That's who they are.
Yep.
And so, you know what? In some regards, it can eat you up because it becomes your entire being and who you are. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be really good at something, that's what you got to do.
As the saying goes, find what you love and let it kill you.
I think I'm in the process of that.
That's true. It's either that or either find what we love and let it kill you, or our wives are going to kill us because we love what we do.
Correct.
It's one of those two things is gonna wind up happening.
It's a very true statement though, because it is. If you love it,
yep,
and you pour everything into it,
obsess about it,
and you want people, to kind of, and not every kid that comes in the door is going to do that because that is not for everybody. There's not enough space for everybody to do it anyway.
Right.
But if you want to, and what I love about it though, for the kids, even if it's a momentary, brief period of time that they do this and they buy in and they learn that they can change things in their surroundings and they can change their behavior and the results. As a human being, it only stands to reason that as they grow into as young men and men eventually, that they're going to take those skill sets and push that out. And then that helps build a better society, better world. We need more strong young men, right? Football is great. And I think it's one of the last bastions of being able to really get people out of their comfort zones. And it's a game that's, about helping others. It's a game about, following rules. It's a game about, lifting your fellow teammate up, right? And working together. I think that football has so many unbelievable attributes to it that, but if you ignore the individual responsibility, because the team sometimes is the overarching theme, right? It becomes suffocating. Like everything's got to be for the team. Yes, but if you want to be the best teammate, you have to be the best player you can be. And so learning those skill sets, and that doesn't shy away in the business world. If you're a team member of a business or you're working with customers, you're part of that team as well, that you have to give full effort all the time and you have to be present in the process of getting better together. And I think a lot of people miss that's what football's about, right? And so, yes, we talk about the NFL, college, all that stuff. It's a mode to betterment. And if you're working on getting better at the little things, and as a player, as a young kid, hopefully you're going to do the same thing with your family. You're going to do the same thing with your business, same thing with your faith, whatever it might be.
And you love to see it. And that's the crux of why we do what we do. And Sunday, it was Super Bowl Sunday. And you know what? I came in specifically, and I even told you, I came in to see who is going to be dedicated enough to train.
Yep.
Right? Who really wants it? Because there were various guys who reached out to me and they're like, Mr. Rock, I'm not going to come in today. We got a big Super Bowl party. My family's planning. I'm like, Super Bowl doesn't start till 5:00.
Yep.
Training's
they had plenty of time.
Yeah,
but again, if you want to make an excuse, it's all day. You can make them all day.
You'll be making them your whole life.
Right. And I think that's what it goes down to is it's all about choices. you want to make sure that if you really believe it, and a lot of kids don't really believe it. They Justin Gage said something in here that 99% of people want that.
Oh,
but
everybody.
99% will not work for it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but you're working towards something when you do it. It's just incremental gains, and it's not even that hard. Like, that's the funny part about it. Like,
Right.
you listen to guys that make a lot of money, like in real estate and stocks, things of that. They will tell you it's not even that hard. It's just being consistent with the behavior.
Showing up is half the battle.
Showing up is yes, it is half the battle. And so, to your point, believe me, I take mental notes. Who shows up on the days they're not supposed to show up, or where it's easy not to show up?
Yeah.
Because everybody's got an escape hatch. Everybody.
Yeah.
And if you choose to go out that escape hatch more times than not, chances are football is probably going to be a short-term game for you.
Yeah, and it's a shame, and it's sad, and there are people take advantage of your opportunities. I can't tell you the number of young men who do not take advantage of their opportunities, and they do go by the wayside.
Oh,
and one of the things I love is that I've been doing this for so long. I see guys now, and guys who, I know you have a lot of guys who come back, or guys who are coaching in D1 football.
Yeah.
You have that relationship. Guess what? They're looking for somebody. They want some information. Hey, they're contacting you, and you were looking at them, or you were helping train them when they were in high school.
And you know what kind of person they are.
And I love to see them better themselves like that.
And JP, I hate to say this, but a lot of the patterns you see in high school, poor choices.
Yep.
We can grow out of that stuff. Yes, we all can make mistakes. But the chronic poor choices and making excuses, all that stuff, it runs with you for quite some time.
It really does. And you really hate to see somebody who has the potential to lift themselves and their families up, and for whatever reason, they just cannot wrap their mind around doing what needs to be done.
Got to get out of your own way. You just got to get out of your own way.
That's the other half of the battle. Get
out of your own way.
And get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Words to live by. All right, well, that about does it for us. Anything else you wanna?
We got a little deep there at the end, but you know what? But I think
we're philosophical.
I really do believe when you boil it down, that's where we're coming from. That's what this show is about: is get people, to get focused on what's important to them about the game. Talk a little football, but then also get into the nuts and bolts of how you use football as a vehicle to go where you want to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's nothing out there to help people.
No,
people, there's nothing, and hopefully and I know it does, because I hear it from people. People reach out to me, and that's one of the things that they like. They love the info, but they also like, the knowledge that's just not readily available.
Yep.
You can't go to a library and get that info.
No,
out there. It's not even on the internet. Unless I said football360.com.
Yeah, hey, that's it. Just let us know too. Shoot us comments online or on Instagram or Twitter about what you want to hear, and
what are your socials.
We're Elite Football on Instagram, Elite Football Academy on Instagram, and Elite Football on Twitter.
And Football360 Show on X and Gram
and Instagram.
And anything else?
That's it.
And of course, Spotify,
Apple. If you go to our website, you can click on all those links are on there to any way you want to listen.
Yes, help us beat Joe Rogan. Numbers,
right? We got a few spots to go.
We want that money deal that he's got.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah.
And of course, at JP Rock MO on X and JP Rock Scout You on Instagram. We've enjoyed ourselves as always. It goes by so fast. We could be here all night long talking.
For sure.
But we will do that next week for sure. And he's Matt Bierman. I'm JP Rock. We've enjoyed ourselves as always. Special thanks to our crack staff in there behind the booth, pushing the buttons, making us look so good.
Yes.
And we will talk to you next week. Stay safe. See ya.